Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome, dear students. This is Miss Layla Al-Jihani. Welcome again in another lesson. Inshallah, today we will continue our unit 6. Today we will cover part of our grammar lesson, lesson 3, and also we will cover lesson 4, language and context. Okay? Before we start, this is what we covered in our grammar previous lesson. We covered the comparatives and superlatives. When do we use the comparatives? When we use it to compare between two things or two people. And with the superlative, we use it to compare between 3 and more. Okay? Also, we covered comparisons with when things are similar, we use as tall as smart as, okay? Inshallah, for our lesson today, by the end of our lesson, you will be able to ask and differentiate between direct and indirect questions. This is the just a small part of our grammar we will cover today. You will be able to use comparatives and superlatives related to our previous lesson to write statements comparing the given offers. So we will have offers in front of us and you will write statements related to the offers. Okay, before we start, I give you a homework, page 124 and 125 in your workbook. See, fill in the correct comparatives and superlatives. So you have to see, are we comparing between two things? Then we will use the comparatives. Are we comparing between 3 things and more? We will use the superlatives, okay? If you haven't done the homework, I'm sure you did, pause the video, take your time to write down the answers, and let's see the answers together. Number 1, Lake Street is larger than High Street, okay? Number 2, High Street is the shortest street. We're comparing between High Street and all the other streets in the city, but here we are comparing between 2, okay? Lake Street is shorter than West Street. West Street is the largest. Lake Street is cleaner than High Street. High Street is the dirtiest street. Lake Street is dirtier than West Street. 8. West Street is the cleanest. Okay, this is for exercise C. D, complete the sentences. Use comparative and superlatives. Also, we will use it. Use adjectives. Adjective expensive. So this is the adjective we are using. Okay. So Dodger Realty Fine Apartments. This is an announcement. Low prices. Come live at the city center. 1-bedroom apartment are $500 a month. 1-bedroom apartments at the Plaza House are $700,000 a month. The Amazon has very special 1-bedroom apartments with large balconies, only $1,000 a month. Okay, so this is an announcement for, and you have to write statements related to it. So you have to read this one carefully and then complete the statements. The city center has the least expensive apartments. So the adjective we are using is expensive. So you have to complete the other ones using the same, okay? Number 1, the Amazon is more expensive than the Plaza House. Number 2, the city center is less expensive than the Plaza House. 3, the Amazon is the most expensive, okay? Now for exercise E, Billy lives in the mountains, Dave lives at the beach. Complete the conversation. Use comparative and superlative adjectives. So you have to complete these with the adjectives between the brackets here, okay? To use either the comparative or the superlative, depends on the sentence, okay? Let's see the answers together. Billy, I like the mountains. The weather is always cooler in the mountains than the beach. Dave, that's right, but I like the sun and the beach is sunnier than the mountains. Billy, that's true, but it's quieter in the mountains. I can hike through the woods and hear the sounds of birds. I like that. Dave, well, the beach is noisier than the mountains, but there is always someone to talk to. Billy, I think that people in the mountains are the friendliest people I've ever met. I know all my neighbors. Dave, I'm always meeting new people at the beach. They are usually on vacation and are from all over the world. In fact, they are the most interesting people I know. Billy, I'm happy you like the beach, but I'll say in the mountains it's the best place in the whole world. Dave, and I'm happy you like the mountains, but I still think the beach is better than the mountains. Okay, this is for exercise C. The last exercise, I believe, is F. Where do you want to live, in the mountains or at the beach? So it's related to the conversation we just read together. Write 3 sentences about why you prefer to live there. Use comparatives or superlatives. So you have to write 3 statements related to the conversation we covered. Your answers should be different. يعني you shouldn't follow only these statements. I'm sure you did better ones. I prefer to live in the mountains because the weather is cooler. If you have a different answer, that doesn't mean it's wrong, it's correct. I prefer to live in the mountains because the air is cleaner. I prefer to live in the mountains because the people are friendlier. Okay? Share your statements, share your sentences with your friends. See how different your answers are. Okay? So inshallah today, if you can open your books, page 60, we have indirect questions. This is the part we haven't covered in our previous lesson, indirect questions. When do we use indirect questions? What do they mean? There is no invention of the subject and verb in the direct question. يعني إيش? Let's see the examples. Direct questions, this is the indirect. With the direct question, we have the WH question, the WH word, and we have the helping verb here, okay? And here, with the indirect, we start the indirect either with do you know or could you tell me? Do you know or could you tell me? Then we write down the statement. Do we write it down the same? لا. We move the helping verb is to the end, like here. What's the name of this? Do you know what the name of the street is? Do you know where the nearest bank is? Do you know when the store opens? Here we have does. So the S here, we move it here, opens. Okay? If we have do, then we don't add anything to at the end of the verb here. Could you tell me where I can get good pizza? Here we have can I. It changed, switched to I can. Okay? How many people live here? Could you tell me how many people live here? Okay? Who planned this town? Could you tell me who planned this town? This is the difference between direct questions and indirect questions. We start the indirect questions with do you know or could you tell me please. Then we move the helping verb at the end of the sentence, and here we can switch. If we have can, we put the subject before the verb. For more exercise, look at these statements. Where is the nearest supermarket? Who is the youngest person in our class? What is the best restaurant in town? How do I get to the airport? these questions, what kind of questions are they? Are they direct questions or indirect? Excellent. They are direct questions. We have to change it to indirect, okay? You have to use do you know or could you tell me to form indirect questions. So you have to write the same statements here, but using indirect questions. Pause the video, look at the statements, write down your answers, and let's see it together. Do you know where the nearest supermarket is? We moved the helping verb here. Could you tell me who the youngest person in our class is? Do you know what the best restaurant in town is? Could you tell me how I get to the airport? Okay. Now for exercise C, I believe in page 61, work with the partner, so you will not work alone. Make indirect questions. You have to use do you know or could you tell me. So these are direct questions. You have to write indirect questions, okay? And then answer these questions. What time does the bus arrive? It will be changed, the indirect, to do you know what time the bus arrives? Okay? You can use either do you know or could you tell me? Okay? From 1 until the end, pause the video, read it, discuss it with your friend, check the answers, try to form the questions together, and let's see the answers together. For number 1, do you know where the main post office is? Or you can say, could you tell me where the main post office is? This is for number 1. Number 2, the direct question, how often do the buses come? How we form it? Do you know how often the buses come? Could you tell me how often the buses come? For number 3, do you know what time the bank opens? Okay, here we have does. We moved it here. We added the S to the verb. Could you tell me what time the bank opens? For number 4, where is the nearest pharmacy? Do you know where the nearest pharmacy is? Could you tell me where the nearest pharmacy is? 5, do you know who can give us directions? Could you tell me who can give us directions? For number 6, do you know which way the center of town is? Could you tell me which way the center of town is? 7, do you know when the gas station closes? Could you tell me when the gas station closes? We added the S because we have does here. What is, okay, we change it to, we move the helping verb is, verb to be here. Do you know what the name of the highway to town is? Could you tell me what the name of the highway to town is? Okay, these are the answers for exercise C. Now moving on to language and context, page 62. We have a boy, his name Yusuf. Yusuf is looking for a place to live. He wants a small, quiet place in a good neighborhood. Okay, these are the things he is looking for in his place. He doesn't have a car, but he has a motorcycle. Yusuf is a student and he has a part-time job. He earns about 1,500 a month. This is his salary and he has a motorcycle. He is looking for a place to rent. So he is looking for advertisements, for ads. He found these 4, okay? So he read it for rent. The first place, large room, near university, fully furnished, good for single person or a student, no parking available. Do you think this is suitable for Yusuf? He has a motorcycle, صح? Here they don't have a parking. It's $350 a month. See Mr. Boswell, 38 6th Street, or call 521-1967. Okay, this is the ad. Think about it. Look at the things they offer. It's near the university. It's furnished. It's cheaper than the other places. Let's read number 2. 1-bedroom apartment, 3rd floor, no elevator, good location near public transportation and park. 700,000 a month. Contact Mr. Hammer at 297-5841 after 6 p.m. The 3rd place, small studio apartment, excellent neighborhood, lots of green space, quiet, safe, 2 blocks from shopping mall and train station, parking available below the building, 450 a month. Call 305-2078. The last place, the last offer he read, small house with a garden in the downtown area near restaurants, shopping mall and sports center, building closest fully equipped kitchen, 900 a month. Call 521-3684. So these are the places he read about. What is the question? The first question is, work in pairs, choose the best place for Yusuf to live in. Then compare with other pairs. So you will work with a partner, 2, 2, 2, okay? You will work together, you will read the ad again, okay? And try to answer these questions. You can't find it in your book, but write it down. Which place is the most or least expensive? So compare the prices. Is the house more expensive than the apartment? Okay, so you have to use comparative and superlatives. Which place is the most convenient for transportation? Which neighborhood is the best and why? Okay, give me a reason. So these are the questions. You can find it in your book. So it will help you to choose the best place you think for Yusuf. Okay, read the ads and try to answer the question. Okay, the first question here, which place is the most or least expensive? So the room is least expensive, the least expensive place. The house is the most expensive place. Okay, this is the most expensive and the least expensive. The second question, is the house more expensive than the apartment? What do you think? Read it. Is the house more expensive than the apartment? Look at the prices. So the house is more expensive than the apartment based on the ad in front of you. Which place is the most convenient for transportation? They talked about transportation here, so you have to look at near public transportation here. They mentioned, did they mention anything about transportation around here? Here it's near, in the room it's near, where is it? It's near the university. Yes, it's near the university. So read it all, try to answer the question. The apartment is the most convenient for transportation, okay? Which neighborhood is the best and why? Which one you think is the best, has the best neighborhood? They mentioned something. Yes, here it's mentioned. Try to find it, read it again, try to find the where they talked about neighborhood. Okay, the studio apartment has the best neighborhood because there is lots of green space, quiet, safe, 2 blocks from shopping mall and train stations. This is the reason. So I said the studio apartment has the best neighborhood. I can't stop here. They said why. I have to give reasons, okay? So which place you think is the best? Every one of you has his or her own opinion. Try to convince your partner with the best one you think suitable for Yusuf. The second task for you, take a class vote. Which place does the class think the best for Yusuf? So take a vote. If pick a number. So if more than 5 groups says the first place, the room is the best place for Yusuf, or maybe 8 will say the best place is the studio apartment. So take a vote and then decide which place is the winner for Yusuf, okay? For your homework, please do workbook page 126. If you want to recall what we covered in our lesson today, we learned how to change direct questions to indirect questions. And we make the necessary adjustment to change it to indirect question. And for the language and context, we learned how to write statements. We wrote statements related to ads using comparative and superlative type of writing, okay? Thank you for listening. This is it for today. Inshallah, I will see you next class.